Hello everyone, today is 24th of November. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, today into the GS folder, we will take a quote from the Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher. Now guys, Aristotle today, it is talking about the democracy. He says, democracies arise out of the notion that those who are equal in any respect are equal in all respects. Because men are equally free, they claim to be absolutely equal. Now, guys, Aristotle had said that the democracy's entire foundation lays onto the ground of equality. So, if democracy has to be practiced in a substantive as well as a procedural way, equality has to be given the most important ground. Guys, we can utilize this particular quote into the GS paper number 2 as well as into the topics of essay. Most number of times the essay onto the democracy has been asked. So, if such an essay comes, you can utilize this particular quote. So guys, that's all about the GS folder, and now let's have the analysis of today's newspaper. Friends, you can visit to our Telegram channel and from there you can download the PDF of the infographics that I'm using here, as well as the daily PDF notes are also uploaded there. Guys, the link for the Telegram channel has been given into the description. Now guys, first of all, let's take the overview of the articles that we'll be taking up today. So guys, this first article has been taken from the Business Standard, and with respect to the vaccine, some of the issues have been discussed. Guys, similar thing has also been carried into the Hindu newspaper. After that, guys, this article is with respect to the Bhutan China land controversy, so we will be seeing this particular thing from very scratch. After that, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express, and it is talking about the China's new probe to the moon. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu, and it is talking about the menstruation leave for the women. We will discuss this. Then guys, this particular article, it is talking about the K-curve dynamics into the banking, so we will be understanding this. Then guys, this article has been taken from the Financial Express, and it is talking about the dairy sector and how it can become the growth engine for the farm sector. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu. It is talking about the Kerala recent issue. Then guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu. It is talking about the single window approval for the FDI. So guys, these are all the major articles that we will be discussing today, and now let's discuss them in detail. Now guys, taking up the first article. So this particular article has been taken from the Business Standard as well as the Hindu newspaper. Now guys, into the past few days we have seen that various vaccine candidates, they have declared their results, that what efficacy their vaccine is demonstrating into the human trials which were going on. Now guys, we had seen that the Pfizer claims that 90% efficacy is there in their vaccine. After that, the Moderna claims 94.5% efficacy is there. However, guys, Pfizer later revised their claims also to be 95%. So, nearly equal effective are both the Pfizer as well as Moderna. Now, guys, the AstraZeneca has also declared their efficacy. And into this particular thing, guys, you might be finding the conflicting percentage which has been given. For example, into the Business Standard, you will see that they are talking about 90% efficacy, whereas into the Hindu newspaper, they are talking about the 70% efficacy. So what is this all about? We will understand this thing. However, guys, one additional information, as we are talking about 3 vaccines. So guys, out of this, the 2, that is the Moderna as well as Pfizer, they are based on to the mRNA platform, whereas this Oxford vaccine, it is based on to the principle of immunogenicity. So guys, please keep these things particularly into your mind. Now going into the news. So guys, what has happened? The Oxford, as we had seen, it has partnered with the AstraZeneca as well as with the Serum Institute of India, and they will be releasing their vaccine, that is the Covishield. And for this particular vaccine, the trials are going on at the global level. Now guys, the UK and Brazil had completed their trial and they had declared some efficiency. Now guys, India also is conducting the trial onto the population. 1600 people are there. However, the final result from India is still awaited to be come. It is still awaited. Now guys, what is this entire scenario? See, this particular 90% or 70%, it is dependent onto the dosage of the vaccine which will be administered to the people. I will explain you this. See, 90% efficacy is declared by the Oxford if 2 vaccines will be given to the people. First vaccine will be the half dose vaccine, and after a gap of 1 month, one more dose is to be given. If this half and one more dose will be given, then 90% efficacy is there, which is the maximum. However, guys, If one dose is given complete and after that one dose again is given after the gap of 1 month, there will be the 62% efficacy, and on an average there is a 70% efficacy of this particular vaccine. So guys, from this particular way these 90%, 62% and 70% numbers are coming. So guys, this is all about this particular thing. And as the Oxford vaccine is being developed by the Serum Institute and the Serum Institute is based in India, there is much probability that this particular vaccine might become the vaccine for the Indian population. And guys, this vaccine by the Oxford Institute, it is also not having the challenges such as storing it at -70, -60 degree Celsius temperature, which was the problem with the Pfizer vaccine. So guys, this is all about this particular article. I hope you have understood. Now we'll be going to the next article. Now guys, this particular article, it talks about the recent kind of a dispute or recent kind of episode which had happened between the China and the Bhutan with respect to one of the village that the China had established onto the disputed territory between the Bhutan and China. Now guys, first of all, before going into the present development or this particular article, I will be taking up this particular issue from the very scratch. So guys, if you are following our newspaper analysis, into the July also we had seen that there was some problem between the China and Bhutan which has happened. Now guys, first of all, when the Bhutan and China are concerned, fine, they don't have any diplomatic boundary agreement between these two countries. Still now, there have been 24 rounds of boundary talks which has happened between the Bhutan as well as China. And guys, since 1984, these boundary talks are going on. And the last round happened in 2016. After 2016, there was the Doklam standoff which has happened, you might be knowing. So guys, after the Doklam, there are no active negotiations which are going on to the Bhutan, between the Bhutan and China. And because there are no formal recognition, boundaries often disputed between these two countries. And guys, the latest episode of confrontation happened into the month of July between the Bhutan and China. What happened there? See, if you focus onto this particular map, guys, here we can see that this is China, this is Bhutan. Now, onto the eastern side of Bhutan, there is Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary. And this Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary, it lies near the vicinity of the Arunachal Pradesh. Clear? Now guys, what happened? Bhutan was asking the money under the Global Environment Facility. Clear? UNDP, Global Environment Facility. And at that point of time, the China blocked the Bhutan's demand for that money under the GEF, because China said that this particular territory where the Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary is located, it is a disputed territory and over this China claims it. Fine. So there a confrontation began, and now this particular confrontation is evolving and evolving. And guys, now what has happened? China had claimed that they have established a new village. Fine, and the name of this particular village is the Pangta village. And this Pangta village, China claims that it is on to their own territory, but guys, it is believed to be into the Bhutan, or it is a kind of a disputed territory between the China and Bhutan. And guys, there the residents have been located and families are living there. So guys, if you will see into this entire scenario, what China is doing, China is actively making the incursions into the Bhutan. Fine, sometimes a village is being made, sometimes the Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary is being claimed, and this might be nothing but an attempt of China to get a more stronghold into the Bhutan so that it can get a better access into the northeast India. And guys, in fact, the Arunachal Pradesh, it has often been called as the part of the Tibet. And yesterday also we have seen one article where Arunachal Pradesh was calling that the frontier highway needs to be developed into the Arunachal Pradesh so that China's behavior could be kept in check. And guys, this particular incident again provides a kind of a strong argument that the strong infrastructure around the Arunachal Tibet border is needed to be there. So guys, this is all about this particular issue. I hope you have understood, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express. Clear? Similar attachment has been there onto the Hindu newspaper, but here we will be discussing it much more comprehensively. Now guys, this particular article, it is talking about the Chang'e 5 probe which is being launched by the China. So this particular probe will be launched today. So what is this? Very important for our GS paper number 3 as well as for the prelims. Now guys, when we talk about moon, there is one is the dark side of the moon, other is the lit side of the moon. Dark side is one which doesn't comes under the basically which doesn't comes under the zone of illumination which is created by the sun. Now onto this dark side. First of all guys, for the first time China launched a probe here, that was the Chang'e 4, which landed in 2019, and for the first time the pictures from the dark side of the moon was sent to earth. Guys, it sent picture, and now the China has decided that now it will be launching a new probe onto the moon towards the dark side of the moon, and this new probe is being called as Chang'e 5. Now it will not only be going there, rather it will also be digging up the rock, and those rock samples will be sent back to India. So this is the entire plan. Now guys, this particular Chang'e 5 mission, it will be landing onto the Mons Rumker region. Now Mons Rumker region, it is a volcanic formation onto the moon towards the dark side. So there it will be landing, and from there it will be digging up the rocks. Now guys, when we are talking about it, Chang'e 4 was the first which landed onto the dark side, but this particular Chang'e 5, it is actually the second probe which will be sending the lunar rocks onto the earth. Earlier also the rocks have been sent onto the earth, though they were not from the dark portion. So guys, let's see who earlier also sent the rocks back from moon to the earth. That was the Apollo 11 mission, which was launched by the NASA in 1969. So it brought the rock, and now the second time it is going to happen. Now one more question comes, that why we need the lunar rocks. So guys, there are certain reasons into that particular direction. First of all, these rocks will be telling us about the age of the moon. It can tell as how the moon was formed. It can tell that how actually the lunar surface is different from the earth surface, what are the similarities, and all that comparison can be made. Moreover guys, it can also tell that what is the radiation history of the sun, because from so many millions and billions of years constantly radiation is falling onto the earth or onto the moon, so we can get a better picture of the chemistry. And guys, into if the more detailed analysis is made, it can also tell us the mysteries behind the origination of the solar system. So into this particular direction, all these particular things will be helped by these lunar rock samples. So guys, this is all about this particular article. I hope you have understood. Now we'll be going to the next article. Now guys, this particular article is important for the GS paper number 2, social justice, women related issues. Now guys, what has happened here? See, the Delhi High Court has been made an appeal, or a petition has been filed, where it has been asked that there needs to be the provision for the paid menstrual leave for the women. And now the Delhi High Court has directed the union government as well as the Delhi government that they should frame the rules for the paid menstrual leave for the women. Now guys, when we are talking about this particular thing, the demand has been made that at least 4 days of paid leave needs to be given to the women, and not only the permanent employees or permanent female needs to be given this, but all other category or the classes of women, such as the daily wage earners, the contractual workers, and as well as the labor which has been outsourced, all should be given this particular right. And if the woman wants to work on to that specific day where she is going through her menstrual cycle, then guys, for that particular thing, an extra compensation needs to be given to the women. And it has been said that basically it is nothing but a right of the human dignity or the dignified labor, and this particular thing has been protected under the DPSPs. Fine. So guys, into this particular direction, a direction has been made. Now when we are talking about the menstrual leave, this particular topic has become very much important into the recent number of days, because guys, if you see, the Zomato had already provided that they will be providing the menstrual leaves to the women, and this is basically a kind of a recognition that women's labor needs to be recognized, as well as their special needs are also needed to be taken into the account. However guys, when we are talking about the menstrual leaves, there are sometimes the criticisms also come into this particular direction. The criticism is this, that on one hand the needs from the feminist activist is this, that the equality needs to be given, whereas on to the other hand, now the special treatment is being asked. So guys, it has been said that these particular kind of things into the long run are not good for the women, because guys, if such burden, the burden for the menstrual leaves, already the maternity benefit act has been passed, if such burdens will be posed onto the employees, so basically employees will be having no choice, but they will be preferring more of the male employees. So this particular thing can backfire also. However guys, there are other arguments also onto the different side of the spectrum, and if you want to see this particular entire debate or this entire particular article, then guys you can refer to the August 21st attachment at this particular timestamp, where I have discussed very extensively arguments in favor as well as arguments against the menstrual leave. And here the Barkha Dutt has given some very good kind of an arguments. The nature versus nurture debate, etc., has been done. So guys, if you want to do this topic more comprehensively, you can refer this additional attachment also. Fine. So guys, this is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the K-curve dynamics into the banking. Fine. So guys, we will be understanding this particular article. Fine. If you have read this article, you might have found it a little bit kind of typical. Fine, but not. It is not that much difficult to understand. See, guys, it has been said that whenever we are talking about the health of any particular corporate or the fiscal position of any particular company, we see the price to book value ratio. Fine. Now, what is this price to book value ratio? Guys, price means that what is the value of the entire company, and that value we can calculate by multiplying the total number of shares into the value of or the price of each share. For example guys, just assume that there is one company, and this company is having 10 shares, and every share's value is 100 rupees. So what is the price of this particular entire company? It is 100 into 10, that is 1000. Fine. Now next comes the book value. What is book value? Value of all the assets that are owned by that particular company. Into the asset, their plant, their machinery, their land, their building, everything will be calculated. Is it clear? Now guys, if this particular price to book value ratio, if it is more than 1, fine, then we assume that the health of the company is good. However, if it is less than 1, we find that the health of company is not good. The investors will not be that much interested into investing them. The return over investment will not be very much positive. So guys, this is one of the litmus test to see the viability of any particular corporate. Now guys, here the price to book value ratio for the banks have actually been analyzed. And guys, it has been said that if we see in our India, then guys, the bank's price to book value ratio, it varies from 0.25 to 4. Fine. And this particular divergence, you can see that some banks are hugely into the bad health, whereas some banks are very good. And guys, when we see this particular ratio for the NBFCs inequality there is even more. There it ranges from less than 0.75, 0.8, it goes to the 7. So guys, here the divergence or the band is even more bigger when the banks are concerned. Is it clear? And guys, it is actually a new concept comes here, that when we see this inequality, that on one hand there are 0.25, on another hand there is the 4 price to book value. This particular band makes a particular new curve, and that curve is called as the K curve. Fine. Now, what is this K curve? K curve shows that how much inequality is there. Now guys, when we are seeing this particular K curve, we can actually identify that our banks could be plotted onto the 3 of the categories. That is, into one category, those banks will be coming whose price to book value is 3 plus. Clear? On another category, there will be those who are having 1.5 plus. Clear? 1.5 to 3. And guys, the third category is that where the banks are having price to book value ratio of less than 1. So guys, clearly we can see this thing, that the last category, these are the weak banks, and the first 2 categories, these are the strong banks. And guys, when we will see this, the K curve will be coming like something like this. Clear? So onto upper hand there are more strong banks. And guys, when we are talking about these strong banks have been called as the alpha banks. Fine. Now, guys, it has been said that for making the Indian financial sector more resurgent, to make that sector more stabilized, there is a need that more and more alpha banks are needed to be there, because these alpha banks will attract more money, will be having more deep pockets, and therefore the entire financial sector can be made much more good. Now, government's responsibilities need to be this, that they either need to identify these alpha banks, or they need to explore the way in which the weak banks can be converted into the alpha banks. Now, guys, when we talk about the government banks or the PSU banks, many of them, they have the capability that they can become the very good alpha banks, but they are not there. Why? Because there is much government's interference, government's regularization, professionalism is not there. So now the case has come that government needs to give more space to the banks so that they can emerge out to be the alpha banks. And guys, this particular argument is being made into the background because recently the Reserve Bank of India had published a report by their internal working group where they have talked about giving more leg room to the banks. So guys, it has been said that removing the kind of regularizations, giving more space, will actually be helping to identify the alpha banks. So guys, this particular things such as the alpha banks and all these, please utilize these particular phrases into your answers if you are writing anything, because it gives much authenticity to your answer. So guys, this is all about this particular article. Now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Financial Express, and it is talking about the dairy sector, which can become the growth engine for India. Now, guys, first of all, this particular article is very important for our GS paper number 3, where the agricultural marketing and the dairy sector, it becomes very much important. Guys, I will be giving you first of all some of the facts, very important. Please do utilize them into your answer. First of all, guys, if we see the growth of dairy sector in India, in 2013 and 14, the dairy sector was giving 17% of the output into the entire sector of the agriculture and allied activities, whereas in 2018 and 19, their output increased to 21%. Fine, which is a very positive development. After that, guys, if we see the growth into the milk group, fine, the growth has been 5.6% in last 7 to 8 years, whereas if we see the growth into the agriculture and allied activities, their growth has been 3.3%. So we can see very clearly that how the milk sector or the kind of a products from the dairy sector, they are outpacing the entire agricultural sector. Moreover, guys, if we see that why dairy sector is even more good in terms of the socio-economic inequalities or how it is removing them, guys, in India, there are the landless farmers, and these landless farmers, they might not have the land, but they are having the bovines. The bovines are equally distributed in India, relatively more equally distributed. Guys, here you can see that if we talk about the land holdings, small and marginal farmers, they just hold 45% of farmlands, but the small and marginal farmers, they hold 75% of the bovines. So bovine distribution is relatively more equal in India than the land. So therefore, guys, dairy sector is also important for the socio-economic equalities. Now, guys, talking about this particular thing, as the pandemic came, there were huge challenges which came onto the dairy sector, and these challenges were on two of the segments into the dairy sector. One are the unorganized people who are involved into the dairy. These are the people who themselves are having 2 or 3 cows and they are selling their milk to nearby localities. Whereas onto the other hand, there are the cooperatives which procure the milk from the farmers and then package them, make the products, and then sell them. Now, guys, both have been impacted, but actually the cooperatives have absorbed the losses and had actually saved the farmers who are involved with the cooperatives. Now, guys, when we are talking about the cooperatives, see, the cooperatives, what they have done, the excess milk surplus that they received during the period of the lockdown, they converted those milk into the milk products such as the curd, paneer, and all these kind of things. And guys, because of that particular thing, now the cooperatives are facing a particular problem, that is the liquidity crunch. Fine, the products are there, inventory is there, but there is no buyer for this old inventory. Guys, into this particular direction, the National Dairy Development Board is helping the cooperative sector by giving them the interest subvention. Fine, the interest money is being waived off so that they get a kind of a liquidity. Even the Gujarat government has also decided to help the cooperatives. They had said that 150 crore rupees support will be given to the cooperatives so that they can export the inventory that they have got. So guys, this is actually a good thing which has been done by government to help help the cooperatives who helped the private basically private people who were raising up the kettles and were giving the milk. So this is good, but guys, it has been said that even more is needed to be done by the government at this point of time, so that the cooperatives who are involved into the milk production as well as other unorganized farmers, they are saved. So some way forwards have been provided into this particular article. So let's see these way forward. First of all, guys, it has been said that government brought the Rashtriya Gokul Mission, and under this Rashtriya Gokul Mission, by the artificial insemination, by better ways of improving the breed qualities, actually the now the productivity of the cows or productivity of the milk animals have been improved. But the Rashtriya Gokul Mission has not focused on some of the other things, and now there is a need of Rashtriya Gokul Mission 2.0, which actually works that how the productivity which has been achieved, it can be translated by enhancing the processing capabilities of the milk plants. Is it clear? So excess milk, how it can be converted into the high value products, so that particular value chain is now to be focused. Then guys, it is also a need that our milk products, they needs to be processed so that their shelf life can be improved. On that particular dimension, the government as well as the Rashtriya Gokul Mission should focus. After that, guys, now we have seen that as the pandemic has come and people are becoming more oriented towards those products which can boost the immunity, or people are more sensitized towards the healthier products. So into this particular dimension, now entirely new marketing strategy is needed to be devised, so that how people can be made much more attractive to the dairy products. So into this particular thing also, government needs to do the brainstorming. After that, guys, there needs to be a focus of developing the dairy into the underdeveloped region. Fine, there are so much of the areas where people's holding of the cattle is very much less, but they could be enhanced. So guys, for that particular thing, government needs to provide the financial support to the people so that they can buy the cattle. After that, other kind of extended services also needed to be provided. Then guys, government also needs to focus on to the producer centric institutions, producer centric institution, cooperatives, big milk plants. Guys, we need to focus on to them. Why? Because here, when large number of farmers come together, they pool up their resources, much efficiency can be achieved. And this particular thing has already been seen by the success story of the Amul. Fine. Then guys, the farmer producer organization also needs to be focused. That is, the farmers should come together as a collective entity, and it can bring much of the benefit. So guys, all these reforms are needed to be carried into the dairy sector, so that even more growth is to be achieved. Now guys, when we are talking about this particular thing, there are some other initiatives also which I like to tell you, where by which the government is helping the farmers. First of all, guys, there is National Dairy Development Board's Samvad. So Samvad is a particular kind of a dialogue where National Dairy Development Board, it interacts with the cattle owners and provide them the solutions for enhancing the productivity and for the problems that these people are facing. After that, guys, there is eGopal app. This particular app has just been launched by the Prime Minister, and this particular app provides all the information to the cattle owners, how they can improve their productivity, what are the common diseases which might infect them, what could be the cures, and all such kind of thing. And then guys, there is the Pashu Mitra is a helpline which is catering to the needs of the people who are holding the cattle, the bovine owners. They can call them and can get the assistance for their problems. So guys, these are some of the initiatives which has been driven by the government. Please do mention their name if any question is coming on to this particular line. So guys, this is all about this particular article, a very good attachment for our GS paper number 3. So that's it, and now we'll be taking up the next article. Now guys, this particular article, it is talking about the Kerala issue which has happened. And guys, yesterday all the things already we had discussed, whatever the kind of fallbacks were there, how it was going against the Supreme Court direction, all the similar things have just been carried. So if in case you have missed this, guys, at this particular timestamp, that is 6:21, you can see this entire discussion. So guys, that's it. Now we'll be taking up the next article. Now guys, this particular article, it is talking about the government's initiative to enhance the investing in India. Now guys, if you know that we need the foreign direct investment, and any country needs the FDI, because when the FDI comes into the country, first of all it is denominated into the foreign currency. By that our kind of forex reserves improve, number one. Number two, guys, when the FDI is coming, the goal of the FDI is to stay for the long duration into any country. So therefore, guys, this particular fund is even more stabilized. Thirdly, guys, they bring the technical know-how, they improve the employability into the long term. When they involve into the production of goods and services, they also pay the taxes, and guys, into that particular direction, tax to GDP ratio of India is also improved. So always FDIs are desired. Now, guys, earlier India was having the foreign investment promotion board, which was dealing with respect to the FDIs. But guys, now there the FIPB has been abolished, and guys, now a demand is coming that even more streamlined mechanism needs to be there in India, which can give the clearances to the FDI. So into this particular direction, the government has said that a single window approval for the FDIs will be established by the month of March. And this particular portal will not only be speeding up the entire process of the approval, but will also be bringing the transparency into this entire process. So guys, this will be coming. Now it has been said that this particular platform which is coming, it will be a unified platform where the different stakeholders will come together. Guys, the regulators who are involved here, fine, the regulators giving the environmental clearances, the clearances to set up the industries into the wildlife zone, all the regulators will be here. After that, all the policy makers will be here, and the facilitators will be here, so that if there is any cause or if there is any concern, it can be solved into the amicable manner, into the fast manner. Guys, if I tell you, into the last 1 or so year, it has been said that the sovereign wealth funds, they are showing much interest into India. First of all, the sovereign wealth fund, it means, guys, suppose there is a Saudi Arabia. Now Saudi Arabia had kept aside some money for investing. Clear? So when Saudi Arabia's government itself is investing, that particular money is the sovereign wealth fund. So different sovereign wealth funds are showing interest in India. They want to improve the investing, but they have the concerns that the clearances, approvals, they are not very much fast. So into this particular direction, this particular thing will be helping out. So guys, if you are writing any question onto the economic reforms carried by the government, you can write this particular reform also. So in GS paper number 3, it happens to be an important attachment. So guys, this is all about this particular article. I hope you have understood this. Fine. So guys, this is all about the today. I hope you are liking this initiative. Thank you so much.